This is the 4.5 practice. Okay, first thing we need to do is get this by itself, the square root. So you're going to subtract your 1 over. Next we're going to square to get rid of this. So this would be x plus 5, square and square root cancel. X plus 1 squared is x plus minus 1 times x minus 1 would be x squared. Minus x is minus 2x plus 1. We have a quadratic to solve, so we want to get equal to 0. Subtract that x over. Minus the 5 over. You can solve by factoring. Okay, and then you check your answers. Now I can't have a negative 1 in here, so negative 1 plus 5 would be 4. Square root of 4 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. It's not equal to negative 1, so that one doesn't work. The 4 will work. Okay, the next, I want to get this square root by itself, so I'm going to add that over. Okay, so next I'm going to square both sides. So squaring this means multiplying it by itself. So this side I just get 3x plus 4, cancels out. 2 times 2 is 4. That times that is 2 square root of 2x minus 4. Inside, 2 there, and that times that is that squared, so it's just 2x minus 4. Square and square root would cancel out. So if I combine like terms, so 4 and minus 4 cancels. So I have 2x plus, adding these two like terms, 4 square root of 2x minus 4. Subtract these over. Okay, next thing I want to do is square both sides. So that means this is times itself. It would be x squared plus 8x plus 16. 4 squared is 16. And then that would cancel that out, so you just have 2x minus 4. That'd be 32x 64. Okay, it's quadratic. Let's get it equal to 0. So let's subtract the 32. 8 minus 32 is negative 24x, and then add the 64, gives me 80. Okay, I want to factor that. 20 and 4 will work. X minus 20 and x minus 4. So I get x equals 20 and x equals 4. Okay, and if you plug them both in, they will both work. Okay, number 15, they're both cubed roots, so I can just cube both sides. So I'm going to be left with 3x squared plus 7 is equal to 7 minus 4x. They all cancel. Okay, got a quadratic to solve, so I'm going to add the 4x over. And if I subtract that 7 over, they cancel out. So I can factor out an x. Set them equal to 0, I get 0 and negative 4/3. And they will both work when you plug them back in. Okay, number 18, we didn't necessarily talk about when they're different here. But if I end up squaring this, that takes us down to the square root of this. Then if I square again, that makes this, and if I multiply this by itself by squaring it, we get this. Okay, so squaring it twice gets rid of the fourth root. Quadratic now, so subtract your 2x over, cancels out. Subtract your 2, you get this. Factor or the square root method. So you get x equals 1 and negative 1. I'm sorry, I messed up here because that's a 3 and that's a 2. So that's not right. So let me go back and correct this. I just wrote it wrong. Right? Subtract the 2x over, that still cancels, but subtract your 3, you get negative 2. So you get x squared is equal to 2. So x equals plus or minus the square root of 2. Now the negative doesn't work, so it's only the positive, the square root of 2. Because if I put a negative in here, it won't work out when you work it out. Number 21, I'm going to isolate this. So I'm going to add the 5 to the other side. Now, a lot of people would be tempted to raise it to the third power right away, but we got to get rid of this 2 first. So we'll divide by the 2. Now I'm going to raise it to the third power. So those cancel to give you just x to the first. And 3 to the third power is 27. Number 24, negative exponents. Let's move those to the bottom. And actually, let's subtract that 3 over as well to make it equal to 0. Multiply everything by x squared. Gives me 2 minus x minus 3x squared equals 0. Okay, I'm going to take this over here. So I'm going to make 0 on this side, makes that a positive 3x squared, positive x, and a minus 2. So if I factor, let's go plus 2 and minus 1. No, that's not right. So plus 1 and minus 2. That gives me 3 minus 2 is 1. Okay, so I get x equals positive 2/3 and negative 1. And when you plug them in, they will both work. Okay, number 27. This is one where we can say this is x to the 1/3 squared minus x to the 1/3 minus 6 equals 0. Okay, so let's make that u equal x to the 1/3. So this is really u squared minus u minus 6. And if I factor that, I get u is equal to 3 and negative 2. Okay, now I can substitute this back in. So I know that x to the 1/3 equals 3 and x to the 1/3 equals negative 2. I can cube both sides. So x is equal to 27 and negative 8 when I cube both sides. Okay, so let's notice they're all fourths, or we can get them to be fourths. So I'm going to say this is x to the 1/4 to the third power. This is the same thing as 2/4, right? Minus 2 times x to the 1/4 squared minus 4x to the 1/4. Okay, so I'm going to substitute x to the 1/4 is u. Okay, so this would be like u to the third minus 2u squared minus 4u plus 8. Okay, so now I can factor by grouping. Take a u squared out, I have u minus 2. Take a negative 4 out, I have u minus 2. So I have u squared minus 4, and u minus 2 is my factors. If I set these equal to 0, I could factor it more too. I get u is equal to 2 and negative 2. And when I set this equal to 0, I get 2. So really just 2 and negative 2. Okay. Now I can substitute this back in. So now x to the 1/4 is equal to 2, and x to the 1/4 is equal to negative 2. Okay, if I take this to the 4th power, 2 to the 4th is equal to 16. If I take this, same thing, negative 2 to the 4th power is also 16. So my answer is just 16. Okay, number 33, I'm going to square both sides. That gets rid of the square root. And if I take that and multiply it by itself, that's 4x squared minus 2, and minus 2 is minus 4x, and plus 1. Okay, we got a quadratic. So we're going to subtract the 4, it'd be minus 8x. Subtract that, gives you minus 12. I can factor out a GCF of a 4. And from there, I get these factors. So I get x equals 3 and x equals negative 1. So that's part A. Okay, also I noticed that if you use these and plug them in, like take the -1, and 2 times -1 is -2 minus 1 is -3. I can't have a square root equal a -3, so I know that doesn't work. My only answer is 3. Okay, now for these we want to graph. So if I want to take this, I want to get this equal to 0. So if I subtract these over, I would have the square root of 4x plus 13, and then minus 2x and plus 1 equal to 0. So this is what I want to graph. Okay, and when I graph that, I get a graph that looks something like this. Looks like this. Okay, right here it goes through at 3. That's my solution. Okay, so where is this side? And if I subtract this over, it's really greater than 0, right? So where is it greater than 0? From here to here. Okay, so to find this point right here, what x that is, we take this 4x plus 13 and set that equal to 0. So you get 4x is equal to -13 and x equals -13/4, which on Desmos you can see is at -3.25. So it's going to be greater than 0 from -13/4 or -3.25 all the way through to 3. Okay, part C, where is it less than? So from 3 out here through infinity, then it's less than. Okay, so that's number 33. Okay, number 36. So solve it. We said it both squaring them, so that cancels out to give us this. Multiply it by itself will be 9x squared plus 15 is plus 30x and plus 25. Okay, solve this. Want to get it equal to 0. Subtract your 3 x's, subtract your 7. Okay, and then we want to try and factor or solve this. I'm going to divide out a 3 first. I mean a 9. And then I can x plus 2 and x plus 1. So x is equal to -2 and -1. Okay, now if I think about this though, let's plug them both in. -2 would be -6, plus 5 would be -1. I can't have a square root equal to -1, so that doesn't work. 3 times would be -3, plus 5 would be 2. And if I plug in over here, that does work. So I do have the answer there. Okay. Now, to be able to graph this, I want to take that and get this equal to 0. So minus the 3x and minus the 5 over. Okay, so then for part B, we want to know where it is greater than, and for part C, where it is less than. So if we look at this graph, it looks something like this. Okay, so it is going to be greater than 0 here in this part. So this part right here, we take that 3x plus 7 equal to 0. We get x equals -7. Okay, so from -7/3 up through -1, that's where it's greater than 0. Then less than 0 from -1 on through infinity. Number 39, cubed roots. I'm going to cube both sides. So I'm left with this equals that. Okay, subtract that x over, factor it. So I get x equals 0 and 3, and they do both work. Okay, so I'll go across to part B. We want to know where it is going to be greater than 0. And for part C, we want to know where it's less than 0. So I first want to get the graph of this. Subtract that over. Okay, so I want to put this into the equation there in Desmos. the graph. This is an interesting graph. It comes in like this and kind of goes like this. Yep, kind of, I don't know, something like that. Okay, if you look at it on Desmos. But we know 0 and 3 are our two solutions. So where is it greater than 0? Okay, well, it's greater than 0 from here to here. So from negative infinity to 0. And then it goes less than 0. Then greater than 0 again from 3 to infinity. And less than 0 between 0 and 3. Number 42, I'm going to take it to the fourth power. So x minus 15 is equal to 16. And if I add that over, I get x equals 31. Okay, so what I want to graph then is the fourth root of x minus 15 minus 2 equals 0, okay, or equals y. And this is actually the one we did in our notes, but so it looks like this. So right here, this is at 15, and then it crosses out there at 31. Okay, so where is it greater than? Why is this there is greater than 0? From 31 to infinity. And from 15 to 31, it's less than. Number 45, okay, so first thing we do is raise it to the fourth power on both sides. So I get x squared plus 6x, 2 to the fourth is 16. Solve it, solve the quadratic, get it equal to 0. Be what, 8 and negative 2. So my answers would be negative 8 and 2. And they will both work, okay. Now for the less than greater than stuff, let's get this x squared plus 6x to the 1/4 power, and let's subtract the 2 over. Okay, so if I graph this equation here, it looks like this. Okay, so we know that they're equal to 0 right here at negative 8 and at 2. Okay, so where is it greater than 0? So it's going to be greater than 0 down here and over here. So from negative infinity to negative 8. And then also from 2 through infinity. That's where they're greater than 0. Now less than 0 would just be this and this, but it's not the whole way between there because it doesn't go the whole way here. Okay? So we kind of have to know where this goes down to. So if you go into Desmos and look at that lowest point there, this goes to negative 6, and this point here goes to 0. So from negative 8 to negative 6, and then from 0 to 2 is where it's going to be less than 0. Okay, that is the homework. Come to class with some questions.